Welcome back for part 3 of walking through AOScan Mobile. And this is, again, a Android or Google Chrome-based app that is based off of the original AOScan system, which is a full desktop system. Still available for purchase. And you can find detailed links below in the description of this video. So what we were talking about before was the inner voice and quick scan, and we'll roll right into what are vitals. This is where we get into with the premium software subscription that is $149 a month. You get access to 550 different vitals in the body, and this is kind of like the greater outline of what those are. And you can check box, and if you don't want to scan something and get an assessment, you can just pick and choose what you want. This used to take quite a while to scan with the original system. Now you can do all 550 in just about like a minute 20, I forget what it is, minute 20 seconds. I'm going to actually do the full scan here, so you can kind of at least see what the reports will generate for you, which is quite impressive. So in these reports, that's what I was telling you, we get feedback all the time, like, oh my god, that was like 80% spot on with my lab test. Oh my god, that was like 90% spot on with this blood test. Maybe even more, I don't know. It was so spooky, it blew me away. So we get that feedback now for years, and seeing is believing. If you don't understand the science of this, doesn't really matter. Just experience it for yourself, and it speaks for itself when you kind of see those vitals. So being able to get these very thorough information snapshots on yourself or on somebody else in minutes is invaluable for so many reasons. I'm not sure if I even need to get into it about why it would be valuable. So once you do the assessment here, you can also modulate and tune in and alter all of these different functions to shift back in what is considered their normalized range of function. Okay, so you can do that here if you want. It takes about the same amount of time. Here you can actually email these reports to yourself. It gets into the in range on the current scan or out range. This was my previous, and it gives you a reference so you can kind of track your progress of where you were before and how things have changed. I'm using a demo mode right now, so these aren't actually accurate. I'm not actually using this on a device. I'm doing a demo software version of this. Anyways, so you just kind of just scroll down, and on when you have this not demo version, you can actually, well, actually it's working on this demo version here. But some of these where people are like a little confused, like what's a lymphocyte, and if you're not somebody with a health background or who wants to Google everything, you can just double click and get a nice description here, which I think is awesome. It's really helpful to kind of see the importance of certain things, because at a quick glance, knowing some of these things, especially on like your blood and stuff, and not everything has a description, but you might be like, oh my god, this keeps popping up out of range. I gotta investigate this. Let me talk to my practitioner, or let me do some more testing, or let me talk to whoever, I don't know, or do some more research on this. If it keeps popping up here, maybe you should pay attention to it now that you know more about what's going on there. So again, even though our technology does a lot and it's super helpful, it's not the end all be all. So we always encourage you to look into things more further. If you're not a health practitioner, consider working with one to try to improve some of these things, that you may come across. And, one scan is helpful, but obviously you want to kind of really track things more long term to see how your body's doing, whether you're doing certain lifestyle changes or a protocol, or using the optimized functions. You're using more like the different ways to tune in and help the body, those sorts of programs and features. You want to see and look for things that are not changing as much, are not doing positive adaptations homeodynamically. Something may be going on there where it's not really able to shift in the way that is more optimized. So we're really most concerned for those types of things. that aren't changing, and also want to focus on the things that are changing. And if we're doing some other types of products or therapies, and we're trying to track some changes and say, oh my gosh, you started to supplement with some GLAs from like hemp or evening primrose oil, and look at that, you know what I mean? It's really doing quite well here. And we also saw hormonally for you, wherever the hormones are. We also saw hormonally, things were changing there too. You get the point. So it's good for, doing things like that and tracking some things. So as you can see, it's pretty extensive. And in the professional version that's coming out at some point in the future, you'll potentially get some more detailed information as well. But we'll let you know whenever that's available. That'll be coming out. And I'm just going to breeze through a few of these. Digestive function. And some of those digestive panels that you can get in the lab test, they're costly and can be not so fun to read as well. Inflammation panels, these things add up a lot. Imagine being able to get these types of panels of tests almost in a way like every week or every month. Usually every month. You don't want to do it like every week for most things, but about like a month, every 2 months, 3 months, whatever, without having to spend a lot of money or charge your client a whole bunch of money. So anyways, these are really important parameters to modulate your diet. If you have metabolic syndrome or things like that, deficiencies. These are a little tricky, I noticed, to follow because your body is always fluctuating so much with the nutrients it needs. Like, if I just worked out a lot, yesterday, my body's probably going to be like, I need way more amino acids, in certain ones than like when I'm in more of a recovery phase. And then, I didn't quite have enough yesterday. So, sometimes that can be a little tricky. So we want to look more long term for some of like the trends of deficiencies, stuff like that. But you can just see here, like, oh my God, it's so thorough in terms of what you can get into here. So this is extremely unique in terms of just how much, even the bone tests that you get for people. And there's, as you can imagine, there's so many you could, if you wanted to create a business out of this, practitioners have done extremely well. Imagine just being able to give thorough bone and hormonal tests, help people with different bone density issues, doing that remotely or in person, and recommending then lifestyle changes, supplements. It just goes on and on and on. Getting more information than even somebody can get in a full cardio exam or a stress test. Some of this information, some of the only ways you can come by it is a invasive exploratory surgery. So so some of this information you just couldn't even obtain or wouldn't necessarily ideally want to go do exploratory surgeries. So and then in a second here, you'll actually see how some of this correlates with other reports where you can get further insights as well. This hormone test is great. Don't have to do the traditional hormone testing. Very super thorough. Anyways, you get the idea. I could keep going on. So if anybody wants a sample test on them, you can just reach out to me if you want to kind of see it done. We also give the option for these reports to be sent to our professional report readers. So if you don't want to actually dive through all of it yourself, try to make sense of it, or you don't have the time or want to do it for your client or your patient, you can just email it to our professional report readers, and for a small fee, you'll get back a multi-page report that crunches everything and makes it easy to read and gives explanations, and it's really educational, and it's awesome. So you can send this to yourself, send it to a client, whatever you want to do. Pretty easy. When it goes to their email address, they first have to opt in and like confirm that it's their email address, and then they're able to receive it at that point. So pretty straightforward. And then you can back up and dive into even more. So this is actually where you get into like the organs, the functions of the organs. This can go up to 120 different organ systems. Chromosomes are, kind of unique. And then the rest is kind of like these organs here. You can click on whatever you want to click on. This is super detailed. So I would suggest like maybe just like clicking on areas you really want to know most about. Normally we recommend like doing a full exam, or that's a medical term which I shouldn't use, but like a full assessment maybe once a month, and then diving into specific areas you need to work on based off of looking at that initial test or other tests you've gotten or symptomologies that you have, and then kind of picking and choosing. Otherwise, it can be a lot of information all at once. Now, let's just say we're going to look at the digestive system, because it can also take up to 5 minutes, which is not bad, to do the full assessment. This used to take like 30 or more minutes, actually, so it's super fast. So let's just take a look at the report real quick here. Yeah, so digestive system, I must have, I don't know. I must have not done it right. But anyways, I technically clicked on digestive. So let's say, okay, this is out of range. It's from a scale of 1 to 9. And I'm not going to get too far into, that's the percentage. 0 is perfect. So I'm like 49% away from ideal. That's the sum total average. But basically, you're looking to be more in the middle of the balance of the range of 1 to 9. And the different ranges kind of mean different things. But, for the sake of the video, I'm not going to get into it. So you can double click on anything here and get a 3-dimensional scan of, so it goes immediately in the body. Where is that organ actually located? Which is kind of cool. And you can see how it's interconnected. And this might give you some insights into other organs you may want to scan and take a look at. This is actually going to get more sophisticated, where you can actually click on different things in real time. This allows you to peel off different organs to get other insights, to educate. Oh, you have some pain in this area. Oh, it could be your gallbladder, or maybe it's leaning on this or doing this. It's helpful sometimes, depending on peeling away certain things and getting other insights. It's a good educational tool for yourself or others. And that, so that's basically it for 3D. And, it's just super detailed, all these different functions we can do. And then we're looking for, these things to change positively and shift through the optimization or through other supportive modalities that we're doing, lifestyle changes, etc. So that's it. It's really freaking detailed. I mean, look at all these arteries. So, it's accurate. As much as you're like, no, it can't be. Okay, yeah, this was accurate. We have no scores here, so we have scores on digestive. But anyways, yeah, no, it's freaking accurate. It's unbelievable. So yeah, one of my favorite systems, bioresonance systems, because of the level of detail that you can get into here. So this gives you tremendous insight into fine-tuning anything else that you're doing. So yeah, I mean, it speaks for itself. I don't even have to get into it anymore. My mother's had some serious acid reflux recently, for example. And I found it was the pyloric valve and the esophagus, and, her condition matched up perfectly. I did a remote scan on her, matched up perfectly with what the doctors found. Doing an endoscopy, all these ridiculous procedures that are like ridiculous from the standpoint of cost and invasiveness and stuff like that. But I knew what it was in like 1 minute. I already knew. So yeah, you can kind of see how this could be a game changer, and a lot easier for people to deal with in terms of just getting helpful information. So in this function, you can actually remember those organs in the inner voice that we were talking about in the other video. So yeah, it basically allows you to scan in the inner voice. Because I did an inner voice scan, it basically found of the 120 organ systems. When we were doing the inner voice assessment, it finds those areas that have been impacted when we were doing the voice scan. And then basically I can dial in and now treat. That is a medical term, and I did not mean to use that, treat. This is not a medical device, okay? This is a health assessment tool. So just scratch that word. So I can actually optimize and work to tune into better vibrational co-resonance function, these different parts of the body that actually came up. And I'm actually doing that with some of the functions that usually are used for the comprehensive when you work directly with the organs. So yeah, we can talk on that another time. But basically, I can dial in on, if I wanted to support those organs that came up in inner voice. What about the vitals when we did a vital scan? Any organ systems that came up on my vitals types of reports and scans, I can also work on those specifically, individually, and do further support of them. Since I did a vital scan as well as an inner voice, I now have access to this function, complete, where I can basically combine what came up on inner voice, what came up on vitals. So just the priorities that came up that were most out of balance, most stressed, overcompensating, whatever, and I can focus on just devoting the optimized frequency function. I can just devote protocols that I would create, energy resources that could be dedicated by my immune system on just those areas. This is ideally what we want to get the best results possible. Just because we can focus on so many different things in the body doesn't mean that's the best way to do things. The body doesn't have enough energy resources to really do an awesome job on like everything, that we want to work. We can't work on like everything all at once all the time. Okay? So we just basically want to pick and choose, and it picks and chooses for you, which I think is an awesome function. So a lot of other systems out there, not only do they not even give you, close to the same amount of detail, but it's really left much more to you what you want to focus on. It's a lot more time consuming. It just doesn't chunk it all down like this for you and prioritize and all that kind of stuff. It's just so easy to use, and it's so fast. It's so fast. Some people are like, there's no way that worked. You know what I mean? It's like so fast. It's too fast. I'm like, well, when it worked for 30 to 45 minutes, were you more convinced then if it took longer? And actually some people, believe in it more when it takes longer. You know what I mean? They're like suffering it through it, patiently. But they've been able to really just chunk it down. So it's just so fast now. It's just lightning fast. So yeah, it's super rapid. You got to look at it this way. So let me draw a comparison. Like if you're doing PEMF therapy, on different type of electromagnetic therapy or microcurrent therapy, for example, there's a really popular MLM microcurrent therapy sort of based technology. And you're doing like 30 to 50 to 60 or even longer minute sessions. PEMF would be like 8 minutes to 20 minutes on average. A lot of these things take a while, these different modalities out there energetically. This is more, it's really closer to like information signals that is being sent to your body. And the body can get that message and tune in quickly. So for example, like, when you dial up a cell phone, or when your cell phone's trying to tune in to another cell phone and you're trying to communicate, it can tune into that other band of where the other signal's sending from very, very quickly, right? Almost in real time. Or if you're trying to dial into a news, on a radio, an old school radio with a dial, that's in the field, it's in the bandwidth, you can tune into that station pretty fast, right? It's not going to take you like an hour to get a clear signal, okay? It could take you like a few seconds, right? So you just tune into it, and then you got a clear signal, and then you can receive the information, the signals, right? And then you can respond in some way based off of that signal that you get, okay? So it's the same thing. It's very fast. We're just sending like some information to a specific liver function. That's all. We're letting the immune system, the brain, see something that maybe it didn't quite see as clearly as before. And then it can respond to that right then and there, instantly. Okay? So it's much more rapid than a lot of other modalities in general, and especially a lot of other energetic modalities. It's really more like correcting, tuning, fine-tuning, optimizing information signals, cell to cell, immune system to cell, to organelles, to organs, all that kind of stuff, through your central nervous system. All right. So that's why it's powerful as well. So I'm a big fan of anything that can influence information signals, because you could have a cascade event. You could do one session with an AO scan, for example, and your body, the mind, usually will continue to modulate and respond to that anywhere from like 24 to 48 hours. And a person could even be semi-permanently shifted in a different direction after that. But generally speaking, the body we see goes through a lot of its most dramatic changes within that window of time. That's a pretty long period of time for just one few minute session. Because again, it's information, it's signals that are being changed. So that's it for this video, and we will get into Cepheid function, which is more our radionic type of quantum entanglement, that whole sort of thing. That's for this section here. We do have those principles of energy mechanics and physics involved with these as well, but this is more purely, let's say, radionic based. So we'll get into that next, and all the different homeopathics you can make and cool stuff like that. So stay tuned.